We were doing verse number 28. We had done the basic meanings and we were supposed to start the commentary of Shankaracharya on this. So the verse number 28 is kind of extending because Bhagavan was giving some clue. Who is the one who sort of succeeds in getting that benefit of Atmajnana? And the one who sort of understands this whole reality, this whole prapancha, this phenomenal reality of the world, is being born out of a miscalculated, misjudged contact, that is superimposition of this phenomenal reality on that primal, which is the substructure, which is the universal truth, which just hides beneath everything that is visible to our eyes, the kshetra and kshetragya. And all this, it's like the film which is superimposed in the film screen. This whole sansara is superimposed on Brahman, the way the snake is superimposed on the rope. The one who understands that everything is possible as a result of this yoga, which is essentially a faulty understanding, which is mithya jnana krita, result of our faulty understanding, that itself creates this sansara. With this whole thing comes into being. And then he says in the verse number 27, Samang sarveshu bhutesu tishtantam parameshwaram vinasyasva vinasyantam yah pasyati sapasyati. He's the wise one who knows that there are a lot of people were born and they die, whether you see these whole plants or animals, human beings, everything. But what is non-changing is the foundation, and that alone is real. Okay, so the color of the snake might change from one to the other. The rope remains the same. The rope, there's no change in the rope. Rope remains the same, but depending on what kind of light you're putting, one guy might say it's a cobra, another guy comes and says it's a rattlesnake, another might confuse it's a baby python, but it's a rope, right? So therefore he says that samang sarveshu bhutesu tishtantam parameshwaram, that parameshwara, that fundamental truth, that ishvara, that paraprakriti who is present in all of us, binas yatsu, all that is going to end. That is this body, this mind, everything which is inhabited by, sustained by, permeated by, pervaded by avinasyantam, that Parameshwara. Unko, the one who sees, he's the one who knows how to look at reality. He's in fact Paramartha Darshi, and that is being extended further in the verse number 28. Samang pasyan hi sarvatra samavasthitamishwaram nahi hinastyatmanatmanam tato yati param gatim. By, by being able to see this Atma as existing everywhere without any vishesha, without any particular characteristic. Because all of us are visistas. Somebody is a man, somebody is a woman, somebody is a singer, somebody is a businessman, somebody is a laborer, somebody is a very royal person. We have certain specific characters. We have specific descriptions befitting what we look like, what we perform, what kind of things we have. But that Parameshwara, who is in all of us, the Shastra is saying that you have to see that as unchanging because that is Nirvishesha. Sarvatra Samavastitam Ishwaram, that Paramatma. Here, Ishwar and Brahman in Bhagavad Gita and many other places in Brahma Sutras are kind of used interchangeably, even though we know that Ishvara is Maya Upahita Chaitanya. Suddha Chaitanya is Brahman. When it has association with Maya, it becomes Ishvara. But we also discussed here that the presence of Purusha Prakriti, Maya and Ishvara and Brahman is all coterminous. You cannot say first there was Brahman and then there was Ishvara. The moment we say this, it will also mean that Ishvara has Adi, but he's Anadi. Maya is also Anadi. So they are kind of coterminous because these are essentially appearances. They did not start on a particular evening or a morning. Samang pashyani sarvatra samavasthitam ishwaram na hinasti atmana atmanam. He doesn't, by his faulty understanding, because of his mind, which is kind of tainted, clouded, he doesn't destroy. That means deny. He doesn't kill. The Atma cannot be killed, right? So there is a doubt here, and that he will be sort of, the one who doesn't kill himself, he doesn't kill himself in what? Can he kill the Atma? You remember, let's sort of go back to the verse number in this chapter second, right? We had done chapter, what is the verse number 28? Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita na bhuyah ajo nitya sasyato yum purana no hanyate hanyamane sarire. And then very clearly is mentioned that this particular nainam chindanti sastrani nainam dahati pavaka na chainam kleyadetyapo na susuyati marutaha. So when you have told me earlier, Arjuna can ask this question. You, sir, the very teacher of Vedanta, told me in chapter 2 that I should fight with the Kauravas because nobody here is dying or living. These are appearances. Atma cannot be destroyed, and I, at best, can terminate certain physical aspects, and these are delusional. You yourself have said me that earlier, and now you are saying something exactly opposite. Na hinasti atmana atmanam. Is it possible? Can one kill himself? Is there any probability? Does one actually commit suicide unless he's in mental trouble? Who wants to hurt himself or herself? And how can you hurt the self, the Atma? You yourself have mentioned it's achedya. You cannot divide it, you cannot destroy it. It's avinashvara. So how can he kill himself? Tato yati paragati, you are giving this benefit that the one who doesn't kill himself like this will go and get moksha gati, will get liberation. What does that mean? I'm a little confused. But Paramakarunika Shankaracharya will explain that to us. What does that mean? So he's saying, Shankaracharya to start with, Yathoktasya samyak darsanasya phalavachanena stutihi kartaviti sloka arabdhate. Bhagavan is telling Arjuna, in order for praising and motivating Arjuna as to why he should try to look at the Atma Tattva, which is non-changing, even as he's in the warfield and he's looking at his brothers, his cousins, his own brothers. A lot of people are going to die. There is going to be a lot of conflict, and this is samsara. But he's saying the one who gets liberation is the one who is not deluded or perturbed by this ever-changing phenomenal world, what we call samsara. He is not deluded, he is not affected, he is not frightened, he is not elated. He may be given a lot of rewards or awards, he may be appreciated, he may be subjected to a lot of calumny, like these days happens on the social media. He is unaffected and he continues to observe the Avinashwara Parameshwara Atma in everything that is prevalent here, whether it's a human being or an animal or a bird or a plant or a river or the plant, because he knows that alone is true. All the rest of it that we see is only an appearance. Therefore, Bhagavan says he's giving some stuti for the praise of this jnana, Atma Jnana. Samam pashyana upalabhamano hi yasmat sarvatra sarvabhuteshu. Now, because he is able to see samatva, nirvisesatva, what are we struck with in this phenomenal reality, in this world? With particulars. We do not easily see universals. We see a lot of particulars. A tall man, a short man, a beautiful boy, a very beautiful girl, or otherwise, a dull boy, a dull girl. We see particulars. But he sees what is same in all these dissimilarly appearing objects of perception. What are these? Pashyani upalava manuhi yasma sarvatra sarvabhuteshu. In everything that is material before his eyes, samavasthitam, samatvena avasthitam, which is there, commonly there, everywhere, without any changing. Tulyataya, same Atma. It's not short or big, handsome or ugly, kind or cruel. That Atma is same in all of us. It's with our own Papa Punya and Prarabdha that we look different as a result of our karmas. And that is the game of Prakriti, Purusha, that Paraprakriti, or even that Purusha is also an outcome of Papa Punya, but you go deeper. The Sakshi Chaitanya, the Pratyak Chaitanya in all of us is one and the same. Tulyataya avastitam Ishwaram. It's same way present in all of us, that Ishwaram Atita Anantara Slokokta. Atita Anantara is the verse number 27, which is immediately before this. Slokakta Lakshanam Ityartha. And what is that sloka? In 27, they had mentioned what? Samam Sarveshu Bhutesu Tishtantam Parameshwaram. Bhagavan exists in all of us in the same way. He exists in a cat, he exists in a dog, in an elephant, in our enemies, in our friends. It's one and the same. Like, for example, the film screen on which the lights which are being projected are falling. Tell me, does the film screen have any discrimination vis-a-vis the hero and the heroine and the adversary or the villain or the sidekicks that we have? And there is a scene, there's a dance scene. Is the film screen more favorable to the main dancer and ignoring the presence of others? No, it has no impact whatsoever. It's universally present and without any like or dislike. It's enabling all of them to play their respective roles assigned to them by the film director and shot by the video camera by the camera person and edited by the post production team, and the filming is projected. The film screen has no role except making this picture available to us, making this picture appear real. That is what Bhagavan is doing. Whatever is happening is because of the roles we have taken for ourselves based on our Purva Papa Punya and our karmas and our own aspirations, where we want to reach, what is our understanding. Bhagavan is common in all of us. That truth is common in all of us. Right? Samam, Pashyan, King na hinasti, what he doesn't kill? Hinasti means what? Hingsam na karoti. He doesn't cause any violence. He doesn't cause any loss. To what? Atmana swene eva swam atmanam. If you do not see the truth, that is the threat here, that is the negative alternative we have to deal with. The one who sees that truth doesn't hurt himself. What does that mean? The one who is unable to see Bhagavan in all of us, the one who is unable to see that foundational truth is most likely, in fact, invariably, he or she ends up hurting himself. Why? Because he forgets to realize immense possibilities that hide within themselves. It's like as we were mentioning yesterday, he's like he has millions of dollars in his bank account, but he refuses to open it. Is he not hurting himself? That is hingsha. You have everything with you, but you don't want to use it. You don't want to see that Atma. Karoti Atmana Swene Eva Swam Atmanam. He hurts himself. Atmana here will mean his own mind. Even you can see the Atma only with your Atma, because that we have mentioned how he meditates. Atmana Atmanam Dhyayet, he meditates, and also he hurts by not meditating, by not seeing that Atma. Tataha Tad Ahimsanadi Ati Param Prakrishtam Gati Mokshaksham. Then, because he doesn't hurt, what does he do? He does ahimsa. What does it mean? He enables the truth of the Atman in him to fructify, to blossom, to permeate, to lighten up. And he's illuminated by that presence of Atma, which is always there. But he's covering that up with ignorance, then that is suicidal. When he doesn't do it, that luminosity permeates him, illuminates him, and he enjoys that enlightenment. And that is what is referred to as liberation or moksha here. Nanu na evam kaschit prani swayam swa atmana hinasti katham uchyate apraptam na hinasti iti. He's saying, but sir, you are confusing me a lot. Have you ever seen a person trying to hurt himself? You will say, don't do it when there is a chance that I might do it. If there is no possibility of these happening. It's like, you are in a summer, you are driving a vehicle in a desert area, the temperature is going to be something like very hot, right? Maybe 50 degrees if it's North Africa. And then you're telling me you must carry sweaters to fight cold. Why? There's no cold. Why do you need sweaters? So you might catch cold. It's useless. You're driving during the day, temperature is 50 degrees Celsius. How can I catch cold? So what are you trying to prevent when there's no possibility of that particular thing happening? No one hurts himself. So what do you mean by nahinasti atmana atmanam? He is answering, Naisa dosha. No, no, there is no problem with this. Please try to understand what is intended to be said here. And this student, he is giving two more examples. Yatha na pruthivyam agnihi chetabhyo na antarikshe ityadi. For example, don't set fire to earth. Can you set fire to earth? Earth means clay or mitti. Can you set fire to it? And don't set fire to the sky. Can you set fire to the sky? No, you can't. So, what do you mean by don't put earth on fire or don't set fire to the sky? This is useless kind of advice. No, so no, that's not a problem. Sankaracharya explained. Agyana, Agyanam Atma Tiraskarana Upapattehe. Okay, Agyanat Atma Tiraskarana Upapattehe. Stupid. It's possible that they do Atma Tiraskarana. What does that mean? What is Atma Tiraskarana? It is like a person is a little drunk, okay? And one of our acharyas here, Santidharmanandi, he keeps mentioning about one very good story. That once what happened was that there was this feudal landlord who went out to a party, and then he got fully drunk and he came home. And then he came and he was carrying his walking stick. He put the walking stick on the bed and covered the walking stick with a blanket. And then he started standing in the corner of that house. And the watchman, his servant, who was responsible for helping him because he's an old person, who came to check. He said, Sir, what happened? Why are you not sleeping? Then this feudal landlord told the servant, Please don't disturb. Sahab so rahe hain. The boss is sleeping. So he's standing in the corner of that bedroom like a servant. He's imitating his own servant. When the real servant enters the room and asks him, Sir, why are you not sleeping? He points at the walking stick, which he has laid on the bed, and covered that walking stick with a blanket, with the tip which is visible from outside, and he's treating that stick as himself. It's a wonderful Vedantic story. And he's standing in a corner and he's saying, Don't disturb. Sir is sleeping. And the servant could sort of make out that he's under severe intoxication. He didn't disturb him because he's the boss. The servant left the room and the master fell to the ground after some time because he was feeling sleepy. And in the morning, he woke up and he found that his stick was sleeping on the bed and he was lying on the floor in a chilly wintry night because he was drunk. This is the best example of Atma Tiraskarana. When he himself is the guy who should be on the bed and using the blanket to sort of protect himself from cold, he is lying on the floor exposed to the winter. And his own stick, which has no life, is given the status of the boss and is laid to rest on the bed with a blanket covering it. And he is the master who behaves like he is the servant and standing at the corner of the room for the whole night. That's what an Ajnani is. We treat our own Atma as non existent. We abandon it the way the feudal landlord, the Jamindar, sort of abandons him in the corner of the room in a chilly wintry night without caring for himself. What he cares for? The stick. And he puts that stick on the bed and he's standing on the corner. Same way we overemphasize our wealth, our body, our relations, which are essentially certain appendages and the pure thing which is inside which we are. We are not our name and fame and money and wealth and everything. We are essentially our existence. Because the money, house, and car can come and go, the one thing which is sustaining all of it as meaningful for us is that consciousness. Because if that consciousness is stolen from us, or we get drunk not with alcohol, but drunk with misunderstanding about this reality as to what the samsara is. That is the alcohol of ajnana. Once we are drunk with ajnana, then we pay lesser heed to this consciousness, which is the foundation for everything that appears real around us and in us. That is Atma Tiraskarana. And therefore, he's saying, because of Ajnana Anam, Atma Tiraskarana Upapattehe. And therefore, my boy, don't think Bhagavan is saying something funny. He has a purpose as to why he's saying this. Not recognizing the self, not recognizing the consciousness which inhabits in all of us is equivalent to committing suicide. Sarvo hi agyo atyanta prasiddham. So wherever you see this ignorance, this is very much possible. Sakshat or purakshat atmanam, that consciousness, that atma, which is verily evident is for the Shastra, it's written in all the Upanishads, that is ignored. What is valued? The ego, the social self, the religious self, the economic self, the homo economicus, for example. I'm rich, I'm poor, I need money. Earlier, this famous European philosopher say, I think, therefore I am. Or what do we say? I buy, therefore I am. If you enter into a mall, if you have forgotten your cell phone or your credit card and you have no cash, you enter the mall, what happens to you? You'll be the biggest fool on earth. You should not enter the mall because only if you buy, your presence makes sense there. Because if you go and sit somewhere, you don't have anything to purchase. After 2 minutes, somebody will come, sir, can I help you? What are you doing here? They might think that you are a mischievous character. Either you are spying on someone, or maybe you are stalking somebody. They'll get rid of you. They'll call the police, right? So constantly we're under pressure to focus on the anatma in this vyavaharika sansara. That is what he's saying. Sarohi agya atyanta prasidham sakhyad apurakyat atmanam tiraskritya anatmanam. What is anatma? Your body, your hair, your shirt, your pant, your car. That's what will give more importance. And the anatmanam atmatvena parigrihya. People are very fond of their dogs, and atmatvena, then parigrihya tam api dharma kritva upatam atmanam hatva anyam atmanam upadate. Like, for example, what? Now we consider this ego or this social self or whatever, our vyavaharika satta, that vyaktitva is real, which is particular. The universal we have ignored. That is our real atma. Now, this vyavaharika thing that I am X with this name, I'm doing this, all that, we'll do good karmas and bad karmas, and that is punya punya. What is the outcome? We'll have another birth. We may go in Dakshinayana Marga, this Pritya Bhava, maybe we'll go Pitruloka and go to Swarga for a while and come back when the Punya Phala gets exhausted. Or we might go to Brahma Loka, stay for a while, get liberation if they have done serious upasana. But in normal situations, what happens is that we'll hang around here after a few seconds in Swarga, be kicked back on earth, and then take another life form. Maybe, depending on good or bad karma, if you're too violent to others, God might make you a tree or a piece of stone. That is what he's saying, that you destroy one body and you have another body. isn't this process of terminating one physical self and attaining another physical self through rebirth as good as killing one body and taking up another body? That is what is Atmahanana, he's saying. Navam cha, Nabam tang cha evam hatva anyameva, and then you take another birth, and then again you do some papa punya, then you have another birth. Tam api hatva anyam ityevam upatam atmanam hanti iti atmaha sarve agyaha. So all the people who are agya, who do not know what the atma is, who are atma tattva agya, who vyavaharika jnana all of us have. But those who do not know the secret about what we are, they continue to have this birth and death. Yastu paramarthatma असो अपि सर्वदा अविद्यया हत इव विद्यमान फलभावात् इति सर्व आत्मान एव अविद्वांसः. And then in that paramartha atma, forget about that atma means that you are leaving one body to take another because of the karma, because you are stuck with this karma process. Let's imagine you know what is that. Let's take into account the meaning of that atma is the paramartha self. Even in that case, what he's saying is, even in that case, what happens is that your kind of uh, that atma is not uh, very evident. It is not clearly visible to you because of layers of ignorance. So that is as if it is dead, right? It's like one of your close friends, sort of appears in your office after a long gap, and then he looks a little pale and depressed. And what do you tell him? What happened? Why do you look so dead? Don't you say that? It's like that. So he has that paramathatma, but he doesn't have a good realization of it, and therefore he's as good as he has ensured its death. It's in that sense. Avidvamsa. Yastu itara. Those are different. That means who are vidwan, who have that Atmagyana, they're reading Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. Yathokta Atmadarshi Saha Ubhayathapi Atmana Atmanam na hinasti, because he's actually doing dhyana, Atmana Atmanam. He's meditating on it. Why should he do violence to the Atma? He knows what is this Paramartha Tattva. Hinasti Tataha Yati Paramgatim. Therefore, he has the Atmagyana, he gets the liberation. Yathoktam Phalam Tasya Bhavati Ityarthaha. In Madhusudana Saraswati, there is nothing terribly extra except that he's quoting from a couple of places, and that's why I'm sort of reading. Samavasthitam Janamadi Vinasantara Bhava Vikara Sunyataya Samyak Taya Avasthitam Iti to Avinasitva Labha. So he's putting in that interesting interpretation. Let's look at it. How we can actually infer the avinasitva, immortality, unchanging nature. Once we add this word samatvena pasyati, sees that Parameshwara is samabhava parna. That means he is not undergoing any change. He is vikara shunya. The moment you can prove that Atma is Vikara Shunya, that is the sentence. Avinasi word not used. But it follows, it becomes Avinasi. Anything which doesn't suffer any modification, what happens to it? It is free from modification. It's as good as saying that it is permanent. Because anything that undergoes modification ultimately will get destroyed at some point of time. But something which never changes, what do you mean? That is Avinasi, that is Nitya. So all these words, Achala and Nitya, Satya, all these words will follow from that word, Sama. That is what he's saying. Okay? And then Anyat Prag Vakyatam, the rest have been explained. Evam Purvakta Visheshanam Atmanam Pashyan Ayam Aham Asmiti Sastra Drishtya. Again, he cannot see the Atma with his naked eyes, but he has read the Upanishads. And Sastra Drishtya, with the help of the way things are explained in the Upanishads in Bhagavad Gita, Sakshat Kurban, knowing that Atma. And there are two phases, as it is explained in Panchadasha and other texts, that, first, we keep mentioning that story, if you remember, that there were these 10 boys who left their school and they go on a picnic and they have to cross a river. So they take a boat and they go have a picnic. While coming back, when the teacher had counted them as 10 and they had gone across the river, they coming back, they count themselves. The guy who is counting, he doesn't count himself. So how many boys he is able to count? He counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Then everyone tries to do it and they start thinking they have lost a boy who got drowned, or maybe he was eaten up by the violent wild animals. So they started crying, these boys. And then they go to the boatman. The boatman says, "What happened to you?" He says, "We were 10 when we went by your boat in the morning, but now we are 9." Then the boatman counts them 1 to 10. He says, "You are 10, go." So they are happy for a while, but they are not very sure, and they start crying again on the way. Then they reach the school, the Gurukula, and the master and his wife, she receives them because they are like her own children. That was the tradition. The teacher and his wife used to raise these students, these children. So the mother, the teacher's wife, which is like their spiritual mother, she serves them food. And then she tells them what happened. He said, "Guru Ma, please don't tell it to Guruji, he'll get angry, but we are 9. One was lost." She said, "How?" She counts. And she said, "Yeah, you are all 10 there." And they become happy. They have their dinner, but they are again confused. And the whole night they haven't slept well. And the next morning in the class, the teacher says, "What happened?" He said, "Sir, we want to tell you the truth. One of us got lost. Either he got drowned in the river or he fell to the wild animals. We are 9." The teacher says, "Okay, count." And the boys count. And each boy counts the rest. And he says, "Up to 9." So one boy is lost. The teacher smiles. He counts and says, "It's 10." Then the guy who was counting, he said, "Dasamotvam asi." You are that 10th guy. You are not counting yourself. So you are seeing the whole sansara, but you don't see the Atma. And that 10th guy is you. Now, first, when he says you are the 10th guy, the boys understand it. He said that I am the 10th guy, so there must be 10, but he has not fully understood it. And then, they take leave and go for breakfast and they have lunch, and whole day they are walking. And this boy, slightly intelligent, he's trying to make sense of it. And after a long while, he understands and he bursts out laughing. "Yeah, I couldn't count myself. Whenever I count 9, I leave out myself." And this little boy is super happy and tells it to friend, "I have understood the riddle. The 10th guy is me, but others have not yet understood." So this guy is he's the Atmagyani. What does it mean? It means that when we read all that, I'm reading out and you're hearing, but none of us, in a sense, have that dridivita or puraksha jnana, when we genuinely realize that actually beneath this material phenomenal world or universe, what lies beneath all this is that undefined, undifferentiated field of consciousness, is the self, that is Atma. And that alone is real, but it doesn't happen easily. It's not going to happen because you may do meditation or you do pranayama, you do jogging or you do painting or write books. It happens through gradual removal of false misunderstandings. And with upasana and Ishvara Shraddha and grace of God and acharyas, this is a longer process. We have to purify. It's like when you remember your childhood, you're looking at the stars, okay, the polar star, and you are able to see one star, and after 2 minutes, it doesn't appear to you. Has it vanished? No, it's there. You have lost your attention. Okay, that's how it happens in spiritual life too. Something works for you, it all appears real for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and suddenly you lose attention. The star vanishes. The direction of your life sort of gets fuzzy again. That's what happens with all of us. And this Brahmagyana sort of stabilizes when all these contaminations, all these things that sort of prevent a clear perception of the truth have been minimized and they fall off us. That is what he's saying here. And that guy will get liberation. And therefore he says what? सर्वो हि अज्ञः परमार्थ संतम एकम अकर्तृ अभोक्तृ परमानंद रूपम आत्मानम अविद्यया सति. Because of the ignorance, this self which is akartra is not having kartutva. This atma, this brahman or ishvara, he doesn't have any kartutva, bhoktutva. It doesn't enjoy anything, it doesn't dislike anything, it is not doing anything. It's all game of prakriti. And akartri abhoktri paramananda, never sad, all the time happy, blissful. Rupam atmanam avidya, as a result of ignorance, avidyaya sati. Bhati api vastuni nasti. It is there. And it is also having satta and spurna, both that Atma has. But it's our misfortune. We cannot see it. It's like that star, it's there, but we cannot see it because you have lost the attention, lost concentration. Vastuni nasti. No bhati. No, I cannot see it. Where is Atma? कहाँ पे आत्मा है? झूठ फूस का लगा रखे हो. कहाँ वेदांत 2 सेंटेंस पढ़ लिए, जीना हराम कर दिया हमारा. We are so happy. We are going for a dinner. You're talking about Atma. Why are you spoiling our dinner? Bhati pratiti janana samarthataya. And it is there, but swayam eva niskurban. Okay? Na santam iva karuti iti hinasti. It is there, but he doesn't see it. It's like the mom, as I was telling yesterday, sends the little boy or girl, boy or beta, please go and bring it. And the child goes and says, Mama, it's in there. Mom says, why? Did you destroy it? Are you blind? Can't you see it's here? That's exactly, it's like as good as you have eaten it up or you've destroyed it, that self. So this is essentially Opacharika Bhasha Prayoga. This is a manner of speaking, that he is the one who kills himself or herself. No, he's or she's unable to see the truth about herself or himself. And that self about himself or herself is not a particular self, that is the universal self. All of us are supposed to see that. And we aren't being able to see that because of our ignorance. And what is ignorance? Sum total of our sanskaras, our past impressions, our habits, what we want to do, our vasanas, our desires. Together they make that whole blinding influence we call avidya. Ataha hinasitam and hinasti eva tam tatha avidyayam atmatvena parigrihitam. Is because of ignorance, we consider the body or the ego, the job, and other things as atma. Adhikritya, okay? Iyam Shakuntala Vachana Rupa Smriti. She is quoting from Mahabharata, one statement of who understands it or looks at it in a alternative way or an opposite way. It confuses one's body, one's gender, one's job, one's wealth as Atma. I am this because I have so much of money or house or the or that. That fellow does what? किंग तेन न कृतम पापम, कितना पाप वो नहीं करता है. चोरेणात्मा अपहारिणा. He's like a thief who is stealing his own wealth. What is that wealth? Self-knowledge. So you are like a person who is kind of snatching you. You kind of, it's like you're doing burglary and you're stealing from yourself the possibility. I mean, all of us, possibility of self-realization. That is a beautiful sentence. श्रुतिश्च असुर्या नामते लोका अंधेन तमसा वृथा तांस्ते प्रत्याभिगच्छन्ति ये के चात्मनो आत्महनो जनाः. This is Ishavasya Upanishad. What is saying? Asurya namate loka. The one who sort of doesn't know this Atma, where does he go? He goes to that Asurya loka, where the Asuras, Asuri Sampat, money, house, ego, all kinds of things, they will go there. Okay? And they will go maybe Swarga or Narka or wherever, but essentially they are entering to a domain of self delusion and they will stick around for a while until they take another body, right? And andhena tamasavrita, because they are blinded by darkness, they are kind of affected by blindness. What is that blindness? Not physical. Inability to see the truth. Andhena tamasavrita. And then Tangse Pratyabhigachanti, and there they have that Pratyabhaga. They'll go to different lokas. Ye kecha atmahano janaha, those who are the suicidal characters. So in Vedanta, who is actually a suicidal character? Who is not open to meditating on the self in that sense. Asurasya sambhutaha asurya sampadaha. They will get that sampati, asuri sampati, that we will discuss in the coming chapters. Bhogya ityartha atmanaha iti anatmani atma abhimaninah ityartha. They have this atma abhimana in anatma vastu, like their name, fame, house, wife, children. They are obsessed with this. Ato ya atmagyaha, the one who knows the self. सह अनात्मनि आत्माभिमानम शुद्धात्म दर्शनेन बाधते. सो अनात्मा में आत्मा का जो दर्शन करने का भय है उसको बारण कर देता है. He stops himself from confusing his anatma as atma. He doesn't do it. He's prevented from getting deluded. Why? Because he has got the key, the Vedantic key, to unravel the mystery of his own self through Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. That is what he is saying. Ataha Swarupa Labhat na hinasti. He is getting Swarupa Labha. But that Atma Rupa Labha, he is getting, he didn't have it, he always had it. And what do you mean by it? Prapta se prapti. It's like you had your spectacle on your nose and you're looking for it. Similarly, all of us have the Atma, but we don't know. The Swarupalava happens when we clearly see that self. Hinasti atmana atmanam tato yati param gatim. What is that param gatim? Tataha atma hanana abhavat, because he doesn't hurt himself with mithya jnana. Avidya tatakarya, because ignorance is the outcome of ignorance. What is the fruit of ignorance? Samsara, birth and death. Nibriti lakshana muktim adhigachati. He is freed from this chain of births and deaths. Now, in the verse number 29, it's an extension of the same thing. So then one person questions, the question will kind of say, how all these things are then happening if Atma is there, but everything looks different, isn't it? All of we people are all different from each other, doing different things. How do we explain that? Okay, that you have to give some kind of an explanation. Okay, so he's saying that I will have to Sarva Bhuta Stitam Isham Samam Pashyan Na Hinasti Atmana Atmanam Ityuktam Tad Anupapannam. आप जो कह रहे हैं कि जो आत्मा को इस रूप से सम रूप से देखता हुआ आत्मा का हनन नहीं करता है, ये होने वाला नहीं है. इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल. व्हाई? ही इज सेइंग, आई विल टेल यू व्हाई इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल. बिकॉज ही इज सेइंग that it's not possible swaguna karma vailakhyanya bheda bhinneshu atmasu ityetad asankhya aha, because there are different human beings, there are different characteristics, there are different motivations and different likes and dislikes on all of us. Then you are telling me that there is one atma existing in all of us which is undifferentiated. It's not bhinna from one person to another person. That is a foundational question of Vedanta. Bhagavan, through his student, raises these questions. He knows these questions are hiding in our mind. So he raises these questions, Shankaracharya, and he answers them by referring to Bhagavad Gita out of compassion so that we are able to remove these doubts from us and we are able to stabilize our understanding of Bhagavad Gita and stabilize and strengthen our understanding of the self. That is the purpose of this. Let's look at it. So he's saying, I'll tell you why that is possible. Why this multiple characteristics? Why so many ways in which we do things? This diversity is explicable. We can make sense of it by a particular trick. We have to understand this is all happening as a result of Prakriti. And he's saying, Prakritya eva cha karmani kriyamanani sarvasaha yah pasyati tathatmanam akartaram sapasyati. The intelligent guy understands that this is a game of Prakriti. Guna Guneshu Vartati. He has already mentioned that in several ways. He is repeating it here. That this Sattva, Tama, Rajas, the Gunatmika Prakriti, and there is a combination, permutation of it, and it is manifesting in different ways. In different ways we see things, different ways we understand, different ways we respond, and then this is n number of people, and n into is unlimited number of combinations are possible, and uncountable number of persons with uncountable number of dispositions, orientations, and personalities, they are possible. That is what mathematically he is explaining. Prakritya evacha karmani kriyamanani sarvashaha. It's because of the game of this Prakriti and these three gunas that all the activities you see on earth, which are innumerable, but you can categorize that. This set of activities are sattvika, this is rajasika, this is tamasika. We can categorize it, but we cannot differentiate it one by one because innumerable combinations are possible and these are happening. Ya pasyati tathatmanam akartaram sapasyati. But that self, that self is not changing. It is remaining the same. Like the film screen doesn't change. You have a horror movie and the next movie is a musical. What are the third movie? The third movie is again or maybe some kind of a war thing, or a western movie or a cowboy movie. And morning show, maybe some other funny old movie. And then weekends, maybe some children's movie. Different kinds of movies that the film screen doesn't change. Similarly, the Atma Samatvena Abatishtate. There's no change in it. What changes is this guna karma, all this game of Prakriti, that creates different appearances through which we appear as existing. The foundation remains the same. Let's look at how Sankaracharya explains. Sarva bhutastam isham samam pashyan na hinasti na atmanam iti, that he has already mentioned. Prakriti iti. Prakritya prakriti. Prakriti, what is Prakriti? Bhagavataha Maya. That is that magical power of Bhagavan. Trigunatmika. It has this Sattva, Tama, and Rajas. And we have earlier studied Mayam to Prakriti Vidyat, Mainam to Maheshwara in the Upanishads. Maya is Prakriti and Maina, the Saktiman, and that is Ishvara, who is doing security of Maya to be able to create this samsara. These are ways of looking. Okay? And Mantra varnat taya prakritiya eva, by this Maya, na anyena, there is no one else. Bhagavan is not doing anything, he is just quiet. Mahad adi karya karanakara parinataya. Okay, so you have this. The first word did you have Prakriti Purusha, and then you have Mahat, then you have these Ahankara, right, and then you have these Pancha Tanamatras, then Manas and Jnanendriyas, and then you have the Karmendriyas, and then you have Panchabhutas. That is how the Srishti Prakriya we have studied. So Mana Buddhi Ahankara, whatever. Now the whole question that Mahad, or this Buddhi, and then it's a modification. You have the Sapta, that Prakriti Vikriti, right? And then out of that you have the Shodasa Vikara. We have discussed all that. So whatever we are seeing as our activities is essentially a modification of that Prakriti, which becomes Mahatar Buddhi and then modifies itself into different forms. So, is there any role for Purusha here? Yeah, there is a Nimitta Karana. That Atma is the Nimitta Karana. But Upadana Karana is Maya and Ajnana. So, out of this Ajnana, everything is appearing as real and superimposed. The Rajju is the Upadana Karana. In what sense? For Bivarta, the Rajju has no connection with the snake. But it is the foundation. Because it is there, the snake appears as real. The snake appears as if it's lying there. In that sense, yes. So it is kind of a cause. But is it a material cause? No. The illusion, the faulty understanding, that is the in a certain things is making that snake. Out of which material the snake is made, if you ask me? The flesh of the snake, the poison of the snake, the hissing sound of the snake, that we attribute to the rope. These qualities, can you tell me where it's coming? Is it coming out of that rope? No, it's coming of our own ignorance. It's coming out of our own faulty superimposition. So the material cause, what is the upadana karana? Our ignorance, that avidya. And that is maya. That is the upadana karana. And there is saying Prakritya, Prakriti Bhagavato Maya, Triganatme, Mayam to Prakriti Vidyat, Mayanam to Maheshwara, Mantra Varnataya, Prakritya Eva na Anyena Mahadadi Karya Karana Akara, Parinataya. This is the modification, the outcome of this Mahadadi, the Prakriti, Karmani, Vang Manakaya, Aramvakani, all these karmas. Somebody speaks or moves or anything, which are so they are sort of initiated by these karmendriyas. They are happening kriyamanani nivartyamanani sarvasah sarvaprakareihi yah pasyati upalhavate tathatmanam kshetragyam akartaram sarvopati vivarjitam. He realizes that all the activities are modification of the prakriti, but I can see that the Adhisthana, the foundation, Atma, is not involved in anything because I have read the Upanishads, Kshetragyam, Bhagavan saying, Sarva Upadhi Varjitam, no names and forms there. Pasyati Saha Paramartha Darshi iti Abhipraya. He alone is the one who knows the final truth. Nirgunasya akartru अकर्तृः निर्विशेषस्य आकाशस्य एव भेदे प्रमाण अनुपपत्तिः इत्यर्थः. That bheda we are seeing, that Rama is different from Shama, Congress party is different from BJP or from the Communist Party, India is different from Pakistan, and Russia is different from America. What is this bheda? This bheda is only at the level of phenomena, prakriti, not at the purusha level, not at the atma level. Why? Can you differentiate one part of the sky from another part of the sky? Sky is one. You cannot do that. So you cannot imagine differences in the nirvishesha, which is an universal. That is the self. It's one and only self, the Shastra says. So what do you mean by Veda? This is parikalpita. It's all imagined by us. That is how the Sankaracharya commentary on verse number 29 comes to an end. Let's quickly try to do. We have 1 minute. Whatever little we can do of the Madhusudana Tika here. It's a short one, so we should be. There's nothing extraordinarily new. Nanu subhasva karma kartaram pratidihenam bhinna atmano visamang विषमाः च तद्वत् तत्तद् विचित्रफलभोक्तृत्वेन इति कथं सर्वभूतस्थम् एकम् आत्मानं समं पश्यन् न हीनस्ति आत्मना. Same question is saying that when a person is doing good, bad karmas, having subha and asubha phala, how can you imagine that there is only one person, one truth, that having seen that one will not hurt himself? That is not possible. He's saying this is karmani, vang, mana, kaya, arambhani, sarvasa, sarve prakarehi, prakriti. Same thing is repeating what Bhagavan has mentioned. Nano purushena sarva vikarasu nyana yo viveki pasyati. This is the only addition. It's through vivechana that you see evam khetrena kriyamaneshu api. So at the level of khetra, at the Jada Varga and Jiva Varga, whatever, what is the Khetra thing, right? The Apara Prakriti, you can see the karmas and everything. Karma Swatmanam. Khetragya Akartaram. That is non involved in any of this. Saropadi Vivarchitam. The same thing he's saying. Saha Pasyati Paramartha Darshi. So there is nothing more there. So verse number 29 comes to an end. We'll stop here. Maybe we'll do. We have 4 more verses, and we'll be able to do it in the next 2 days. Hopefully tomorrow. Otherwise, we'll maybe take 1 more day to bring to an end a very profound chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So I'm sort of putting to an end the YouTube. If you have any questions, you can ask in the Google Meet.